We start walking down this street over there on Kinsman. I just stopped and they kept walking. I was like, let me take this out. And when I bent down to take it out, a car was coming up by my legs, and I saw that I was in the driveway. So I was like, man, I'm in their way. Let me just bag up. When I bagged up and took my hand on my shoe and I raised up, that's all I remember. When I woke up over this bush, I just kept, my feet was flopping. I ain't had nothing on. My socks was wet. And I just kept saying, man, what happened? What's wrong? Why is my face so wet? And I'm wiping my face on this side. And I'm thinking it's because it's raining, but I'm really wiping blood. I don't know it at this time. And I'm wiping my face. And he was like, shh, they coming back. They trying to kill us. They looking for us now. My first drug raid that I was in was actually in Ravenna, Ohio. So in '98, my main dude's mom was the one who said, I want you to leave and never come back here. It's something different about you. While I was getting myself together during that surgery, I remember my cousin saying, gee, man, you a good dude, man. You need to give your life to God. I remember him saying that. And I was like, yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Called my brother Ernest and I said, hey, Ern, I need a ride back up to Grand Rapids, Michigan, man. He was like, me and my wife will take you. I'm like, bet. So I'm in the back seat, they driving, and he just was like, you know I love you, bro. I said, I know you love me. He said, man, you need to get your life right with Christ, man. You really should give your life to the Lord. And I'm like, here we go with this Lord stuff. I said, all right, man, I'm going to do it. I will one day. I know you love me. I hear you. I remember that.
What's going on, everybody? I appreciate everybody that's tuned in to my content today. I got a special guest with me, my brother in Christ, Germain.
What's going on, man?
What's going on, man?
All right.
Appreciate you for joining in, man.
Appreciate you having me.
Hopping on this content, man. Today, I just want to talk about your journey to coming to know Christ. And before that, I usually start with just asking, how was your upbringing overall?
My upbringing? Well, born and raised right here in Cleveland, Ohio. The majority of my life I was in EC, well, East Cleveland, we call it EC, the Shaw High area. Single mom, woman who worked a lot. My sister, actually, my oldest sister, was a time where I thought she was my mom. Because my mother was gone all the time. I mean, I can remember Christmas time. It was my sister who was saying you can get up and get your gifts, and just always was there for a long time in my life. She graduated from Collinwood. So that was a time where my mother was working at the bars, putting herself back through schooling. So she used to bartend at one bar, and when that one closed, she went to another bar. And when we finally moved to East Cleveland, that's when she started working for the city, and things started moving from there.
Wow. So what was the age difference between you and your sister?
My oldest sister? I was in kindergarten when she was in the 6th grade. So let's say about 5 years maybe.
Okay.
But she was a rock. You know, even now when I text her, I always call her she my hero. I just say, hey, hero. Because she kept me everywhere she went. She went to basketball practice or track practice. I was always there with her. Like, she took me everywhere. And I had a sister older than me that's in between us. And that was before my younger brother came. But it was us three. But it was that sister who did everything. She like protected me big time. Yeah.
Wow, man, that's big. That's big that she like stepped into that role even when your mom wasn't able to be there, was able to work and provide, man. That's a blessing. Yeah. Wow. Was she overprotective for you? Like real overprotective, but like on you, kind of like?
She wasn't on me. She was on other people. Like, don't mess with him. That's how she was. Okay. She let me do what I wanted to do, to be honest. Yep, she let me do what I wanted to do. I didn't grow up with other than that, I didn't have a father figure or anything in my life at that time that I can remember. My father actually, he passed away. Let me see. I think I was 8 years old when he passed away. But between that time, I can remember seeing his face twice and hearing his voice only twice. One time was at the VA hospital. My mother took me down there, and all he said was, "Hey boy," and I turned around. That's the one thing I remember him. The next time, he picked me up, took me to, now that I know, my aunt's house, his sister in Cleveland Heights, and just told me to go inside. That's the last time I seen him ever.
Wow.
Yeah. And I used to talk bad about him. You know, that's something I learned maturing as I got older. But people used to ask me growing up, you know, your father this, your father that. I'm like, man, I ain't never had no father. The streets raised me. Like, I never had a man actually be in my life. Like, I don't have no dad. But as I went through life, I realized, just like me and any other man, trials and tribulations gonna come to us all. And I was like the kicking it child, because he was married. So he was married. He was a Marine that was married. And his wife and kids, my other brothers, they were in Philadelphia. But he had come home to Cleveland and kick it. So I was the kicking it child, kicked it with my mom, and here I am. And as I got older, I learned something. I said, man, I used to dog this man out, but the reality is, he was in the war. He came back, honorable discharge. He was wounded.
Which war?
But he was in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
So he was like a lot of men that was put on the front line, and they was on dealing with heroin and stuff to keep them going. He came back with that same, he was addicted, like a lot of them that came back. But even in that addiction, they didn't want him to claim me. You know, back in the day, you probably wouldn't remember, we had Higbees back then. And you know, you had the Higbee sweaters, you know, the nice stuff. His family was in Cleveland Heights when Cleveland Heights didn't have any. It was African Americans being in Cleveland Heights was huge. If you was in there, you was doing something good back then. And that's where he grew up. So his mother and them, basically, it was one of them things like, no, you married, you don't have no kids, you fine. And I come to find out when he passed, my mother was getting checks all the way up until I was 18 years old. And I found out it was through the service. He let them know that he did have another son, and to make sure I was took care of. So despite what he was dealing with in his own life, he did make sure that I'll be took care of no matter what. So from that time on, I stopped referring to people as I don't have no father. I used to tell the goodness about him and let him know that though we all fall short, he stood on what he needed to do as a man as much as he can, to let them know about me so I'll be took care of. Yeah.
Did you feel like your perspective shifted once you found that out? As far as like him, making sure you had like the finances while he was through the war? No,
actually, that part of my mindset didn't start until I gave my life to Christ. And when I gave my life to Christ, I was on fire. Like a lot of people, I believe, especially if you've been in a dungeon for so long, and then all of a sudden you give your life to Christ, and it's like, man, I want everybody to have this. To the point where I became what they call a Bible thumper. Like, I was on you. I'd be out there playing basketball with the guys, and I'm like, man, you need to give your life to Christ. They're like, man, check ball. I'm like, no, you going to hell. They like, what? You know, so I was raw with it when I got saved. And it wasn't until then I got saved and start going through my own stuff. And I start looking at myself, and I said, man, all the stuff I talked about my father about, I looked and said, I found myself, I was doing, I was that. I'm like, man, he was out there, he already was married, he was messing around, this and that. And everything I talked about him about, I also done. So why am I putting this man down about his sins and look at what I was doing anyway? So, you know, why am I talking about the speck in his eye when I got this plank in mine? And when that happened, I start saying, man, forgive me. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Wow, that's touching, man. That you went through that experience and just coming out to having your own kids and your own and living an adult life. You start to gain that perspective, man. Before I jump into when you came to Christ, man, how was your upbringing?
I was in them streets. I was in them streets. So I'm not gonna shuck and jive and tell you I seen it. No, I done it. Man, how do I say this? So hustling was on both sides of my family, my mother's side and my father's side. My grandfather, my father's father, he did 10 years in penitentiary. He was the numbers man. He used to bootleg liquor. You know, you would come to his house down on 55th and Quincy area. That's where they came to play their numbers, to buy liquor after hours and gamble. And on my father's side, on his mom's side, my aunt, who's passed away now, she used to run numbers for Don King down on 105. So that's that part. I remember going upstairs at my mom's and I'm just rambling, to be honest. I'm rambling around, going through stuff, and I hit a purse. And I was like, whoa, she gonna get upset. Let me pick this purse up. And when I picked the purse up, it had some weight to it. I'm like, why is this? I open it up and it's nothing but aluminum foil. So in other words, back then, it was either aluminum foil or they had put the marijuana in manila bag. So everybody was hustling. So I seen it. My two uncles, one used to talk to me about women. This how you get women. This what you need to do. Then I had another uncle that was like, if you gonna sell this stuff, you need to sell it like this to make this money. So everything was about hustling. And I remember when I was 12 years old, let me see, was I 12? Yeah, I was 12, I believe, when I got my first gun. My sisters, my nieces and nephews' father at the time gave me my first 38 snub nose. He just gave it to me, which is crazy now that I think about it. It could be bodies on that gun or anything, but he just was like, here, you need this. And he gave me my first gun, and me and one of my guys, it was these guys that used to come up in these apartment buildings over there on Dome off of Hayden, and they was from Michigan. And we'd see the plates coming in and out, and I'm like, man, this need to be our first lick. Like, let's get them. And I can remember to this day, we literally was about to plan for this lick, but God was so good. He ain't let that happen. Though at that time I didn't look at it like that, but he ain't let that happen, because we would have got lit up. We young, we thinking we gonna go over here with this one gun, and I mean, it was cars coming through. They was coming through. So I was introduced to that type of life early, and from there I got into the game.
It was almost like embedded in your influences, basically.
Yeah, and then my sister. So I talked about my oldest sister being my hero. Okay, let's talk about the other sister I ain't talk about. She was the raw one. So she was the one who introduced it to me. That sister was the one who a lot of guys in East Cleveland was actually getting their weight from. So one day she saw I came in and she was like, I seen you up on the block. What you doing out there? And I said, I wasn't on the block. I just was going past her. She said, oh, I thought you was out there doing something you shouldn't do. I said, well, something I need to be doing because I need this money. And she was like, you want some money? I was like, yeah. She was like, can you handle this? And I said, handle what? And she gave it to me. And she was like, this right here is an ounce. You know, this what I want back, and this what you can get. And right now, if you could get that off, I'll try you at it. And I took that first ounce, and I went up on Euclid. Actually, I didn't even go on my block on Hayden, because it was this apartment building called the Animal House. We called it the Animal House, across from Angela Mia Pizza. That's shut down now. But I went in there, and it went like this in like 20 minutes. That whole ounce, 20 for 20, and it was over from that. From that point, I was doing it. So I got out there and started doing it like everybody else, just rocks and stuff like that.
How old were you at this time?
I was 12 and 13 years old.
Wow.
And I was getting it, you know, and from there there go to addiction. So now I'm addicted to the money. So I'm doing it, and I went from that to doing a little more, and then all of a sudden my mother was like, I need to get you up out of here. And this was my 9th grade year in high school, coming out of high school, and she was like, I need to get you up out of here. I want to get all y'all up out of here. And we went from East Cleveland to Bedford. So I was going to Bedford, but yet I'm still coming to East Cleveland doing what I need to do. And I'm at Bedford. And time went on. I think I was a year there, a year and a half. Then all of a sudden, she was like, you still ain't getting it. Like, you still want to be in the streets. And she was like, we moving. You want to go where we moving? And I'm like, yeah, I go. I get in the car and we driving so long, I fell asleep. And we get to where we moving, and I'm like, it's no street lights. Like, I'm like, where? And she was like, we gonna be living right here. This the apartments we living in. And I could just hear geese and crickets. And I'm like, where the street lights? And she was like, I guess they don't need none out here. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. It's dark over here. And she was like, in the morning, I'm gonna take you to the school you're gonna be going to. I'm like, all right. So we go to the school, and the school was the size of, it almost looked like it was the size of Shaw High School's gym area. Real small brick building, and the school was Woodbridge out in Cuyahoga Falls. And man, we get to that school, we go inside to talk to the counselor, and my mom is sitting down and I'm standing up over her. And she was like, what grade will you be in coming this school year? And I was like, 12. Now I know darn well I don't go to school, but my mother's sitting there, and I just said it, the 12th. And the lady said, well, by our records, you will be in 10R. And I was like, what's 10R? My mother like, yeah, what's 10R? And she was like, 10 retain. He got enough credits for a 10th grader. You really should let him go ahead and get his GED, because by time for him to graduate, he'll be too old to be here in our school system. So he should just go get his GED. And my mindset, I'm like, yeah, because I'm ready to get back to these streets anyway, Mom. Thank you for bringing me out here. And my mother said, no, I want him to walk the stage. I need him to graduate. And the lady looked at my mom, and my mom said, so what would it take? And she kind of laughed. She did like a like a little chuckle. And I looked down and I saw the tear coming down my mother's face. And that's what did it for me. That's when I changed, when it came to just wanting to do good for my mom, because I seen that tear. And when I seen the tear, I asked the lady, I said, what would it take for me to graduate? And she said, well, in 2 weeks, we got summer school. You got to come to our summer school, pass that. When school start that year, you have to go to night school at North in Akron, pass that. While you here going through your regular classes, you need to take something extra like auto body or home remodeling. Pass all that, and we could talk about you graduating. I did it. I did it just for my mom.
Wow.
Just for my mother. I did it. And still was hustling now. I'm still hustling. Matter of fact, at that school, I hear this guy rapping. And I'm like, because it was only maybe 4 or 5 blacks in that whole school. I hear somebody rapping, doing beats on the table in the lunchroom. I go and I meet somebody there. And me and him start chopping it up. He came from Detroit. He out here. And that's when I went to a whole nother level in hustling, to be honest. So now I done met him, his family, and now I'm doing it at a whole nother level in high school. Now I'm doing weight, big time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy though. How you wasn't really rocking with school before that. Like, you was not rocking with school, but the fact that you saw that, just the tear, you know what I'm saying, from your mom's eyes, that like shifted everything, which is crazy. And that was a lot that you had to do with the school and stuff, and go to this school and hear that. That's a lot, man. I want to ask you, man, growing up in that environment, right, and that's your influences for your whole life. Have you ever, at any moment, have a sense to like, I want to explore some of my potential outside of this life? Did you ever have that moment, or was it always like clear cut, like, this is my way out, you know what I'm saying, hustling?
So, growing up in East Cleveland, it wasn't always illegal hustling. So I did a lot of things, like I used to write down things and put my name and say I can cut your lawn, and I tried to do a little lawn service and cut people's lawn and all that type of stuff when I was young. I actually worked for the original Cleveland Stadium and was too young to do it. Me and some of my guys, we used to get on the train, go downtown, and we'd stand in that long line, and I was selling ice cream, popcorn at the stadium, making money, and I was selling the foot-long hot dogs. When I got to the point where I want to make the more money, I was like, I want to sell that, and they was like, son, you can't sell beer, because I was trying to sell the beer, and I said, they make money, everybody buying from them. And they was like, no. And I was like, what about that? And they said, that's the foot-long hot dogs. You think you can carry that? I'm like, yup. And I did. I carried that, and I'm standing there, man. I remember dead in the winter, holding that foot-long hot dog stand, and I'm watching Eric Dickerson run, and I'm snot coming down. I'm just standing there cold, and I'm watching the game, and all of a sudden somebody touched me. It's like, we need 20 foot-long hot dogs with stadium mustard. I'm like, 20? They like 20. I'm like, all right. And I'm getting it in. But this the kick to that. Yeah, I did stuff like that. But even when I got paid, getting at Cleveland Stadium, and we on our way back home, the hustlers coming at me. Hey, how you doing, young man? I'm good. Okay, you want to make some extra money? Put 20 down, you get 50. This game is called pick and choose. You might not win, you might not lose. Find the red, find the ball, find the red this. And I'm like, man, and we used to get took. And one day the guy was like, look, young brother, I don't want to keep taking your money, man. He was like, see all these guys that's coming up and they betting and they act like they losing, them my guys, they working with me. He was like, but I could teach you how to do this and you can make money. I'm like, okay, show me how to do it. He was like, you got any hot sauce or anything like that at the house? I was like, yeah. He's like, get you 3 tops. He was like, you got a cushion and you know at your house? I said, yeah. He said, go in there and pinch a little bit, make it a little ball like this, and let me show you how to maneuver your tops with your ball. The ball is always in between your fingers. It's never underneath, but they don't know it. You're going to put, when you pick it up, you putting it down. They don't even see it because it's pinched. And he started teaching me how to hustle. So always hustling was coming at me, right? But I did try to make it in those means. I didn't always want to hustle. I was big in track. I was cold in track. And I remember when I was running, I always wanted my mom to come see me. I wanted people to see me, man. I wanted to run and do something different instead of being in them streets. I was on a football team at Kirk Middle School.
Did you run track?
I was sprinting. I was the 100, the 2, the 110 high hurdles, 4x1 relay, and we was cold. We was cold. And out of all that I was trying to do, my mom never was able to come see me run. Nobody. My sister was grown. She had a child at the time. She was gone. So I didn't have, nobody was coming. So I was like, man, forget this. Let me go ahead and get in these streets and do what I want to do. When I got out there to the falls, what I told you with my mom, I said, okay, I'm going to run track. I'm going to do this again and do it my 12th grade year. Let me run. Man, I was killing them. Got to the Butch Rental relays and tore my hamstring bad. And after that, I never ran again. I just was like, I'm done. So, yeah.
It was always track mainly?
Yep, track. Definitely track. Yep. I did a little gymnastics. I was self-taught. I used to flip, go to the Team Titans up at Glenville, and they used to watch me, and I'd go up there and tumble. Yeah, so, yeah, I was into it, but didn't have the supervision or the people around me to mold me and push me. So the streets is what gave me the attention, so I went with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, I don't know how you did it, because track, like running, man, that ain't my speed. I hate running. Man, but wow, so you actually did have like other avenues that you was kind of pursued. You feel like track was like the main, do you feel like that was like kind of like the B? Do you feel like hustling was A? Do you feel like track was B?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I was dancing too, so I was a big dancer in the city. So me and one of my close friends, we was known in Cleveland as some of the best dancers in Cleveland. We always was in every festival. People knew us at festivals, to the point where we start dancing for groups. My first major time dancing, I was at Dayton Hair Arena with Ghetto Boys, Rex and Effect, After 7 and them, and we was up there dancing, doing our thing, man.
I know being in that lifestyle, You experienced probably so many things, had so many encounters, you know, being in that lifestyle because you was young, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I wanted to ask you, how was that? I know, you know, during that time, God was protecting you still.
Yeah, I was in a situation where I really wasn't, this ain't had nothing to do with that lifestyle per se, even though I was in it, but I remember walking down the street, walking down Kinsman, and I was with two friends of mine. One is a real good friend of mine. The other young man was really his friend, but I met him through him. And I remember, man, it was 15 guys that was at this corner street, and they was asking him about his brother, and he was like, you know, he don't know where he at. He was like, well, when you see your brother, let him know I'm looking for him. And he was just like, all right. And we start walking down this street over there on Kinsman. I want to say it was 143rd to be exact. And you know, it's crazy. It was like a rock in my shoe, and I was tired of walking in it. And I just stopped, and they kept walking. I was like, let me take this out. And when I bent down to take it out, a car was coming up by my legs, and I saw that I was in the driveway. So I was like, man, I'm in their way. Let me just bag up. When I bagged up and put my shoe, took my hand on my shoe, and I raised up, that's all I remember. That's what I remember right there. My brother, who's a real good friend of mine, man, we go back from when I told you I lived in the Collinwood area. So I stayed on a street called Colonnade. And when we was in the third grade, it was these candy called Jolly Rancher sticks. And I had a apple one, and I remember sucking on it and bite, and I bit it, and I still was sucking it, and then it went in my throat, and the edges was sharp. And when it went in my throat and I opened my mouth to talk, blood started coming out. And he looked at me, and every time I took a deep breath and talked, it was getting worse. And do you know, he picked me up. Man, he picked me up, had me on his back to get up there, and our street was like a hill. He did whatever he had to do to get me up the street to where we got to my uncle, and my uncle just boiled water and scalded my throat, put it down my throat to melt it. Now check it out, didn't even take me to the hospital after or nothing, but they melted that candy. But that same young man, now that we older now we teenagers, boom, I'm with him on this side of town, because he moved on this side of town. I came over there just to be with him, and I'm coming, boom, I don't remember nothing. He told me the story, and he said that those same 15 guys, they came, that they wanted to kill us. And he said, the dude, when you looked up, you didn't see nothing, they hit you, and you was out. And he was like, they just was on you, stump you, and we ran. But he said, my love for you was so much. Let me contain myself. He said, my love for you was so much, I had to come back and take the whooping with you. And he said, some people came, so they scattered for a quick minute, and he kept calling my name. And he said, when I got up, I started walking the opposite way of traffic. So he came and put his arms up under my arms and pulled me to the backyard of this house and put me over this bush. And that's what I woke up to when I was over this bush. When I woke up over this bush, I just kept, my feet was flopping, I ain't had nothing on, my socks was wet, and I just kept saying, man, what happened? What's wrong? Why is my face so wet? And I'm wiping my face on this side, and I'm thinking it's because it's raining, but I'm really wiping blood. I don't know it at this time. And I'm wiping my face, and he was like, shh, they coming back. They trying to kill us. They looking for us now. We see them running around. They want to kill us. And this lady was going into her apartment, and I remember hearing them say, ma'am, please, can you let us just call the police? And she was like, no at first. And then that's when I heard him say, they trying to kill us. And she said, come on. We walking in the house, I'm behind them. The lady tell him, okay, y'all can sit down right here and call the police. And he moaning like he hurt. I don't know what happened to him yet, but he moaning. She turned around and saw my face and started screaming. And I'm like, what's wrong? I said, can I look at myself? And my man, he told me, no, sit down. He didn't want me to look at myself. And we called the police. They come, the ambulance come to find out, when I was touching my face, like right now, if I did this to my face, I can't see my hand.
Mm-hmm.
When I was touching my face, my hand was out here. I'm looking at my hand like this far out. My head was that far out on this side of my face. And they wouldn't let me sleep for 24 hours, look past 24 hours, you know, had me drink that stuff. They checking my insides, all that. My head right now, if you put your hand and walk across my head, you just feel lines. Like my skull is skull fracture. Everything was broke up. And like 2 days later, I went to go visit him. He was laid up. His neck had the brace on it, and all this was broke. He had casts. So he told me when he came back, he took the butt whooping like, nah, y'all got to get up off him. What y'all doing? And they picked him up, and he tried to resist the slam and broke his wrist, broke all that. And he was hurting, but he still, man, it's something. He came back for me. And to this day, I talk to him about it, and I think about it like, bro, remember when we was in the 3rd grade, you saved my life, bro. Remember when we was teenagers, you did this for me. Like, he's always, and this ain't my blood brother, but it's just something how the relationships you have growing up. Now that I'm saved, I can see where God put people in position in my life, right? And we all have a choice, and he made a choice to be there for me no matter what. And that's just that part. But I have went through things like, I know people that's been in situations where murders done happen. And one murder in particular happened, and a friend of mine thought I had something to possibly do with it because I was making moves to Detroit at that time. But, you know, come to find out it wasn't me. It was a setup that he was in, but it had nothing to do with me, of course. My first drug raid that I was in was actually in Ravenna, Ohio. I used to take some weight out there to a guy, and it was 3 days before Christmas. And I went out there, and this time I think I had maybe I think I had a key of cocaine, maybe, and I think I had about 20 bricks of some marijuana. I don't know what everybody call it, marijuana, reefer, whatever they call it, gan. But I took that out there, and I remember, man, that was the first time I was in a drug raid, and he was set up by his own relative. That really what happened. His relative was a 2-striker that came out of prison, and he was in California, and he came back, and I guess they were doing some type of business for him to get back on his feet. So his cousin came while I was sitting there, and he was saying stuff all out loud, like, oh, this marijuana, man, y'all doing this and that. And he took his cousin in the back. And in the midst of him taking him in the back, somebody knocked on the door, and it was his brother's. His brother came, sat down, asked where his brother was at. I said, he in the back if you want him. And he was like, no, I just want what you got, man. When you gonna look out for me? I ended up selling all that to him. When I sold that to him, he went out the apartment building. I get on the phone talking to somebody that asked me for 20 more pounds he wanted. So I'm talking to him on the phone, and when I talked to him on the phone, I heard a big bang. And I looked outside like, man, what was that I just heard? I heard it again, and I noticed it was the door. When I got up to run to the back, the door busted open. The lock hit me on my head. All I hear is get down, get down. They got the Glock in my back. And I look up, and his cousin was standing one arm outside of the bathroom and the other one in. And he was like this. And next thing you know, they went back there to get him, and they was taking him out. And all I heard him shaking his head saying, man, cuz, I can't believe they got me, cuz, they got me. And they had my man come and sit in the living room. They asked me, is any cars out there, man? Which one was? They took my keys. At this time, I still had a old ID when I went to Central State University. I had that on me, and they was like, what you doing here with him? And I said, well, he a friend of mine. They was like, you need better friends to be with. We've been watching you for a long time. Like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And they was like, going through my pockets, and they got all that money. And he just, I don't know if it was 20 or 10 pounds. I don't know how many I had. But they like, man, this is you, huh? I said, yeah, that's mine. They was like, well, what, you don't believe in banks? I said, man, that's something you said that. No, I don't. So I just keep my money with me. And he was like, well, let me give you this card. The guy came up, gave me my keys. They said it was clean. He was like, man, get better friends. Here go my card, Detective such and such. If you want this money back, just come and see me and you can get this money back. I'm like, oh, okay. And I looked at my guy that was sitting there, and they counting money. They counting money around him. I hear him going in the kitchen. They went in his cabinets, and then they opened up his cabinets, and he had a department up there that I ain't know nothing about, but this cousin must have told them, boom, this where he keep money. Then, you know, like the outlets on, like your electrical outlet where you can plug your stuff in. They took them out. I watched them. He used to wire money through his walls. So he'll wrap it up, put aluminum foil and stuff, and have a string, and he used to string money through his walls. They taking it all out. And he just looking at them with this mean face. And they like, ooh, we need your type job. We need your type job. And they saying his name. And they putting it all around him. And his whole living room, dining room, all that, it's all money. And this was 3 days before Christmas.
Wow.
And to be real with you, they ain't do nothing but take that money. They split that because he was right out.
Wow.
Yeah, they split that. That was their Christmas money. So 3 days before Christmas, that was the first real drug raid that I was in. Yeah, man. And of course, I ain't go back for that money. I was cool. Yeah.
Wow, man. Just hearing your like experiences, man. Even the whole time, like all that you experienced, though, it's crazy how God still had His hand on you that whole time.
I don't know how long you got to talk to me, so I'm giving you quick snippets. But if we really, really talked, it's so much more that happened that God allowed me to go through, to see, witness. That He's always been there. I wasn't raised in church per se. It was typical in my household. It was one of them, you going on Christmas, Easter, you know, on Mother's Day. It was stuff like that. And my mother say, come on, we going. And we used to go to Starlight Baptist Church on Euclid, Ohio. And it was something, man, because I go in there and I see the young guys in there with the white, you know, gloves on, with they white and black, and they was junior ushers, and I'm seeing how they doing it. And I'm like, I want to do that. Right? And everybody in here just smiling and crying and hugging with each other. I'm like, man, that's what I'm talking about. But soon as we get up out of that church, and you know, my mother light up that cigarette. If I do something wrong, she like, sit your little black ass. And I'm like, man, we just was in this building. Everybody was crying and laughing and smiling, and it was just a mix. So I used to go just for those reasons. But I didn't know nothing about Jesus. Even when I was baptized, they was just like, hey, we're going to load up. Yeah, who all want to go? And we're going to go to the river and this and that. I just wanted to get out. Yeah, me. Go. I went down a wet devil, came back up a wet devil. I ain't know nothing about what I was doing. I just wanted to get out my environment of what I was dealing with. But I didn't know. But eventually, once I had my 2 children and I went through a phase in my life, in 98 is when I moved to Michigan. One of the brother that I told you from my high school that I met that was from Detroit in Cuyahoga Falls, his mother, I give her a lot of credit for being the one who helped save my life, because what I was going through at that time, I just got off a tour. I took a group, we did a 15-city tour down south, and I remember I was in Mobile, Alabama. And I said, I'm about to go back home for a weekend. I had 2 children at this time. I had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, my 2 daughters. And I came back and I surprised them. And she surprised me. Their mom was like, when you get back off the road, if we not married, I'm taking these kids and I'm gone. And my mindset was, I don't want my kids to go through what I went through. I need them to be around me. And I am tired of these streets. So when I got off the road and came back, we got married. And I sold everything. And people thought I was on drugs. I sold my cars for $500 to my dude, Darnell, in East Cleveland.
How old were you during this time?
I was 23 at this time. And I came back I sold my cars to my dude Darnell in East Cleveland for $500. He was like, man, you sure? I'm like, you can get $500. My Rolex, I had a Rolex, my Rolex Link that was $15,000. I let this dude get it for $500. He still owed me $250 to this day. So I told him $500. I just was selling everything. All my clothes, everything I got from selling dope, I sold for $1. My little brother and his friends, they couldn't believe it. It was like Christmas. Yeah, I can get everything just $1. And I tell people I never did hard time, though I was locked up in Atlanta for a little bit. I never did hard time. And the time that I really did was really mental. It was mental. So in '98, my guys, my main dude's mom was the one who said, I want you to leave and never come back here. It's something different about you. She was like, you don't need to be here. You know, and this is a woman who went through a tragedy of her son getting killed. And she moved here to the other son, the next oldest, doing about 11 years, to the son that I'm talking about now. He's in jail. They gave him life. This was my partner that I was out there with. And this woman loved me enough, and not being her blood son, to tell me, you need to go and don't you come back. And I listened. I wasn't even saved now.
Wow.
I just listened. And got married in '98, and I moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I went to Grand Rapids, Michigan, man, and I started working. We was living with her grandmother in a bedroom. My kids was in the little bed, and we was sleeping on the floor. I went there with nothing. So all this money, all that stuff, I let that all go to really be what they call a peon. And I I remember getting a job at Arrow Door, making laminate doors for $6.30 an hour, and that's what broke me. And I remember her mother, who was giving me a ride to get to work, said, I remember hearing her say, you married this bum? Like, this dude, look what he is now. And I'm not giving him a ride no more. And she refused to give me a ride to the job. And from that job, I ended up being at this other job making doing the insides of the car. We was doing the paneling. And this lady was like, she took a liking in me and was like, don't you want something better than this? And I was like, yeah, if it can come. And she was like, look, my boyfriend, he worked for GM. I could get you in GM if you want. And I'm like, really? She was like, yeah, when he come, I'll make sure he bring an application. I said, all right. He sure brought it. Guy named Harry brought it to me, gave it to me. I gave it back, man, and that was the start for me. I had over 18 jobs through a temp service when I was up there in Grand Rapids. Wow. I did whatever I had to do, man. Whatever I had to do. I was working at the school, cleaning the toilets, working through a temp service. I did whatever I had to do. And I never went back to the streets. I remember when I got on my feet and I was driving down a main drag, like Euclid Avenue is our main drag here. 28th Street is theirs up there. I was going down 28th Street and a cop got behind me. And I start getting myself up. And I thought about it and said, man, I'm good now. I don't need to do this. And I start bawling. I was in that car driving, man. Tears kept coming. Just because I felt free for once in my life. I was free. I didn't have to think where I'm going to run or how I'm going to get up out of this. I didn't have to. That was the first time I felt that in my life up there in '98.
You like free of that paranoia, huh?
Big time. Wow. Yeah. So, yep, I raised my kids, man, up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And it was in 2001 when I gave my life to Christ. Wow. And it was because a guy at that same job, when I got in at GM, this guy, man, he's passed away now. This is my brother. He was the one pushing me about God. It's something how God always had people in position in my life the whole time. Now I could see it. So I remember I got married in '98. I brought him up to Grand Rapids, Michigan. I came back here to Cleveland because I had to have surgery. I had a hernia in my groin. I had surgery, and while I was getting myself together during that surgery, I remember my cousin saying, gee, man, you a good dude, man. You need to give your life to God. I remember him saying that, and I was like, yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Called my brother Ernest, and I said, hey, Ern, I need a ride back up to Grand Rapids, Michigan, man. He was like, me and my wife will take you. I'm like, bet. So I'm in the back seat, they driving, and he just was like, you know I love you, bro. I said, I know you love me. He said, man, you need to get your life right with Christ, man. You really should give your life to the Lord. And I'm like, here we go with this Lord stuff. I said, all right, man, I'm going to do it. I will one day. I know you love me. I hear you. I remember that. Mind you, my friend's mother said, get out of here. Something different about you. My cousin said, you need to get yourself together. My brother telling me on my ride that I should give my life to Christ. And he's the one that's the Seventh-day Adventist. And I'm just like, oh, okay, I will. Here I am going through these jobs. 2001 come. I'm at GM, and this guy on break used to say, hey, man, you want to come over here with us on break? We be having a Bible study. I'm like, no, you can sit over here with us. We playing Tunk for money. And everybody will laugh. And I'm just like, no, I ain't doing that. When I came back to Ohio, but the way that happened was, you be thinking something of God because it's helping it's really satisfying your flesh. So this was really a flesh moment. Now that I could see that now, but then I thought this had to be God because I'm going through my divorce. I'm in Michigan. It's 2015, and I go on my cell phone, and I'm like, let me go on Facebook, and I go on there, and it was like somebody you may know, and I look at the face, and it's this young lady that I just knew I was supposed to be with since we was 13. This was the most innocent person or thing, that I've been around, didn't mess up or anything, and I just knew this had to have been it. So I go ahead, we get together or whatnot, and the way that happened, I just went on there and was like, let me friend request. So I friend requested, she hit right back and accepted it, and then I went into Messenger and I said her name, and she said my whole name, but then she let me know that she was married, and I'm like, wow. But here's my flesh, how you doing? And she put in there, I'm doing good, but can I tell you something I haven't told even my mom? And I'm like, yeah. She said, I've been unhappily married and been wanting a divorce for the last 5 years. So I used that, and plus I'm going through a divorce as an excuse to make me feel like it's meant right now that we supposed to reconnect. Now it's been about 26 to 29 years. I haven't seen her, don't know nothing about her. But I did it, man. And long story short, I ended up going to Columbus. I moved to Columbus. We was in and out with each other, going through the battles of things with her divorce and mine's finally going through. And we eventually got a place together. When we got that place, my birthday falls on Thanksgiving every 7 or maybe 10 years. So we messed around and invited people over to our condo that we got. Her family and my family. And my daughters and my son actually came from Michigan to this event. And when we was, doing our thing, me and my daughter, my oldest daughter, was in the basement around some of her family. And my daughter is bold. And she just looked at me and was like, Dad, when are y'all getting married? And I just froze like, wow, when are we getting married? And I'm like, I don't know. And she boldly said, everything you taught me growing up about God, you doing the opposite now. And that hit me. And I already knew it wasn't righteous what I was doing, not right. Because in the eyes of the world, you ain't bothering nobody. Y'all living together, doing y'all, living y'all life. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But it's nothing righteous about what I was doing. And now I can look back, all the signals was there, but I was not entertaining what God was bringing me. I wanted to still allow my flesh to win. And I would tell this young lady, I know you don't love me like I love you, but I'm sticking in this. Until one day, I want to say it was 2019, she came back from Atlanta and she said, can I tell you something without you getting mad? And I was like, yeah. And she said, I need to find myself and you need to go do what you need to do. And I didn't wait. I just took that as I need to leave now. So I put in the application up here, my resume, and immediately, who was that? Nestle reached out. And Nestle said, we'd love to have you as a manager here at our facility on the west side. And they gave me $7,000 for the move from Columbus to Cleveland, and I left. But when I left, I didn't leave to my own spot. I wanted to look for it. So a family friend of ours had just bought a house. They just moved back from Vegas and bought a house in the Akron area, in Bath, right there in Bath. And she was like, I got a room for you and everything if you want to come. Now, mind you, she got 2 dogs and like 3 cats, and I'm allergic to them. But I'm just saying to myself, I want to get out of here so I could get myself established back home in Cleveland. When I get there, here it is on the news. COVID is in Ohio, is in the United States. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So we going through those phases for like 2 weeks. Then it was like everything shut down. And when that happened, I start mentally spiraling out of control with things. I was like, I'm losing it because I couldn't go do the basic things I was used to doing, and mentally it was hitting me to the point where I had to be hospitalized. They put me on medication for depression and anxiety. But I remember one key thing is when I reached out to my spiritual mother up in Grand Rapids, and I'm crying out, and she kept saying, son, renew your mind, renew your mind. And I kept saying, how do I renew my mind? Like, I'm crying so hard, my head is pounding, my eyes is bloodshot red. And I remember hanging up the phone, and I just laid prostrate on the floor. And I just was calling out and saying, Lord, what is it? Like, I need you to help me. I need you to help me. And as I start getting up to my knees, I heard Matthew 6:33. Like, it was just as clear as day. Matthew 6:33 spoke to me. And I looked up, and my Bible was sitting right there. I haven't opened that Bible. I wasn't reading it at all. I just brought it in with everything else that I move around. I got up, got the Bible, turned to it. And all I read was Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And it was a blessing. I just was like, okay, Lord, I repent right now, and please forgive me, dear Heavenly Father. You know, forgive me, and I need to get closer to you. And from there, I reached out for someone to talk to mentally, a spiritual advisor, but at the same time, they was wanting to just listen to my situation. And that went well. I didn't need him no more. I only took the medication one time, and then I threw it away. And I was like, my medication is this word of God. Yeah. You know, because it's living and active. So, yeah.
Wow, man, that's amazing. Even after that happened, man, and you kind of like got to a low point, you know, and you like renewed your relationship with Christ. And how was that shift after that moment happened?
Well, in that time, it just didn't happen like this. It's a process. Everything we do in life is a process. Anything that comes fast is pretty much, it's not going to probably be good for you. So I had to put the work in to get to know my Lord and Savior. So I just started reading more. And in the process of me doing that reading and getting myself together, a young lady reached out to me that was a Facebook friend, or I reached out to her actually. I seen what she was going through COVID, and I just said, how are you doing? And she was just a Facebook friend. I don't know her at all. She just knew me from my clothing line, Desire to Inspire, that I was pushing at the time. And people saw my journey on, when I left Grand Rapids, I weighed, in 2015, before I got to Columbus, I fluctuated from 230 to 249 at that time. And when I got to Columbus, all I used to do was walk. I used to go and walk at the Hoover, it's called the Hoover Dam up there in Westerville. And I will walk the Hoover Dam back and forth, and I will record myself, and I say, if you want it bad enough, you can get it. You just got to put the Twinkies down, you know, and get yourself together and put the work in. And I always used to say, my desire is to inspire. My desire is to inspire you to be the best you that you could be. That was my little shot that I put on Facebook. And at that time, I stopped eating beef, pork, I stopped drinking pop, drinking punch, drinking orange juice, anything like that. I just left that alone. And I went from fluctuating from 230 to 249 down all the way to 168 pounds. And that year, just by walking, I didn't go work out or nothing. Then I started working out and putting muscle on, and that was over. I was 190 solid, fit. So she was a friend from that time. And when we was going through that COVID situation and I reached out and she reached back, I'm okay. She had asked me, if you want, I could come over there and we can just start going out doing stuff so you can get out the house. You need to get out. And I was like, man, I appreciate that. At that time, my friend that was my business partner up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, he was pastoring at this time. And I told him about her. And I was like, hey, man, it's this young lady who reached out, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, God said that's your wife. And I'm like, what? Now that I'm looking back, I trusted in those words because the first house I ever bought in Grand Rapids, Michigan was on 1128 Powers. The lady told me and my ex-wife at the time that she gonna sell the house to somebody else. He said, man, God told me that's your house. But the lady said, you're not getting the house. Next thing you know, maybe 3 weeks later, I get a call from the realtor saying, that house that you looked at 1128 Powers, if you want it, it's available for you because the lady said she believe it belongs to you and your family. So my mindset thinking, he said that back then and it happened, and he said this was my wife, and I'm mentally going through it at this time. I just went with it like, oh, okay, then this must be my wife. Then another brother of mine who is close to me from Grand Rapids, he heard me. I told him the same thing, and he said, the stuff that your ex-wife did and the girl did in Columbus to you, you a good dude. You deserve this, man. So in my mind, man, God must be speaking to them. And I'm tired of going through what I was going through at this household I was in. So when she'd come get me, she'd just take me to her house. We'd sit there, man. I'll lay down and we'll watch old reruns like Sanford and Son and things like that and just laugh, and then she'll wait and she'll say, you ready to go home? I'm like, yeah. She'll take me back to the house. So it was just, it just felt good to be around and socialize. That's really what it was. And then one day she called me from the mall. She asked me my shoe size. I told her. She was like, because I got these J's for you for your birthday. And I'm like, no, don't buy me nothing. And then my friend again said, you deserve it. Let her do it. You know, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then she called me back and said, you know, you always posting you cooking and what you eat. She was like, when I'm going to get to taste this good food? And I said, just out the blue, I thought about that Beyonce. And I said, when you put a ring on it, do you know she sent a picture of a diamond ring that she just bought? Yeah. And I was like, with my mind, he said this my wife. Man, long story short, man, believe it or not, we ended up buying a house out in North Ridgeville. Her brother married us in the kitchen. My little brother was with me at the time, and he kept looking at me and asking me, are you okay? Like, you sure you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm okay. And we went through the ceremony and everything right there in the kitchen. And I said, come on, let's help me get some stuff out the car. And as I walked to the front door, her brother like, hey, don't you want to at least kiss the bride? And I didn't even mentally understand. I was not there. Like, I didn't do it. I came back, gave her a peck, and that was it. 3 months later, I'm sitting on a couch. And in the time that I'm on this couch, we had her granddaughter staying with us. A young lady that I call Scoop. And she's my granddaughter to this day. This is her son's daughter. But I was watching Scoop while she'd go to work, and Scoop was with me morning and at night. I helped her, you know, learn how to pray, man, for her food, stop snatching. I potty trained her, and the things I did with this young lady was stuff that helped me. Actually, now that I look back, it helped me in a mental sense, because those things reminded me of my daughter and how I was doing things. So 3 months into this marriage, man, I'm sitting down on the couch and I just heard vividly. It was like the enemy said, and you thought you was in control. Look at you. And I was like, nah, I got to do something about this. And I went and filed for a divorce, gave her the papers, and we was roommates for a whole year until after that year, and we went through our divorce and sold that house, man. And we are friends, good friends to this day. Wow. And that's what it always should have been. But out of what I was going through mentally, man, I went and did something I know I shouldn't have done. Now, to this day, I'm married. I've gotten remarried, but this is the first relationship I've ever been in that I asked God. That's my go-to scripture, Matthew 6:33, and everything that I do. I want to seek Him. So I sought after God and asked Him not just if this is my wife or the woman that I should be with, but am I the man for her? And He spoke that clearly, man. And it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing.
That's a blessing, man. And even now, man, like being a husband and a man of Christ,
yes, sir.
And also having your children and having a business on this side, having a business for the kingdom now.
Come on.
And just having this whole life, it's just amazing to see your journey, man.
Yeah.
And, how far that God has brought you. Because the path that you was on, the life that you live, it's like, there's no way. If somebody was watching that through a movie lens, it's like, there's no way this person would survive that. There's no way. And the fact that you here and the man that you are today, man, it's encouraging to me. It's just a testament to how great God is, how loving He is.
Come on, that's the biggest thing, that love. That love. Even in the beginning, the one thing we quote, or everybody in this world love to quote and put up at the football games, John 3:16, it said, loved the world. Jesus, what's the greatest command? Woo, woo, woo. He said, love. Love thy neighbor like thyself. Love your God. Love it. Everything is about love. Love don't always feel good neither. You see what I'm saying? I love you enough to let you go. I love you enough to discipline you. See, that's true love. Not just, okay, go ahead and let you go down the street that's no good for you. And that's not going to bring you to righteousness, and God won't get the glory out of. That's why everything I do to this day, like, man, everything I do, I want to give God the glory. Because I understand that I'm living in a fallen world and this is not my home. I truly get that this is not my home. The things that's here on this earth we can use to ease some of the things, to enjoy some things, but ultimately it's not for us to make gods out of it. It's for us to use it for what we need for while we here on this earth, but ultimately give God the glory through it. That's why all my products now got Romans 10:9 with a blood drop on the back. That's why my clothing line, right now, everything God recycles. I'm living proof. Man, I probably have it on. Me and my wife, we started. Man, it's a business card. Me and my wife started our trucking company, man. Got our first truck, and it's as you can see, man. That's what it is. It's servant's heart, man. Servant's heart, man. Let us serve you, with the scripture on there.
Wow.
Yeah, because Christ Himself said, I didn't come here to be served, but to serve. And once you truly surrender yourself, man, all is well.
That's amazing, man.
Yes, sir.
It's like look with the hustle. Like the hustle's still there, but it's for the kingdom now.
It's for the kingdom. I'm telling you. He says, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, not what we think. That's why He says, your ways is not my ways and your thoughts is not my thoughts. We couldn't even comprehend it because He's outside of time. We in time in a fallen world. We can't comprehend. So what we need to do is stop trying to and just be obedient and walk what He told us to walk. Amen. He's the creator.
Amen. Amen to that, man. Well, I appreciate you again for joining in, man. Like I said before, you encouraged me a lot, man. Thank you again for coming on.
Man,
I really appreciate it.
I'm blessed that you even having me on here.
I appreciate y'all for tuning in to this content, and y'all have a blessed one. Yes, sir, man.